What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it.
What are we going to call it?
I think I thought the discourse was a good.
The discourse?
I think what I'm going to do, because I've been thinking a lot about this. As I stated on the last episode, I want to put this on YouTube, but I don't think I'm going to. I've been sort of thinking about that. I thought actually today on the way here, I was thinking about it's going to look disjointed on Apple and Spotify and all that. It's going to jump around from like if this is episode 94 or whatever, I think I'm on 93. So this would be
last
94.
one was 93.
So, but if that's not on Spotify, then 95 is, or then maybe it's two of these, and then.
Okay.
So what I think I'm going to do, this is my thoughts. I think we're going to call this the discourse episodes, and leave it numbered sequentially.
Oh. But using the denotation.
Yes.
The discourse episodes.
Yes. And we'll throw in with Chris and Mike. And
I'm Chris. He's Mike.
That's true. And I think what I'm going to do is the audio version will be a certain time period, not the whole episode. And it'll say for the rest of the episode, please hit the YouTube channel.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you can divide it up that way, okay?
Yeah, it should be pretty easy. The editing is actually really not that hard. Sometimes video can be tricky if you want to cut something out, because audio is super easy. You just if you cough, you take, you'll see a spike in the audio, and you just cut that little chunk out. Video is tricky because
I don't see much need with our discourse.
Yes.
For video editing.
No, not at all.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the way I've been approaching it mostly for a while now.
It's pretty authentic that way.
Yes, but also I'm kind of lazy.
Okay.
And I got a lot of shit going on. It's just easier, honestly. And I'm past the point of giving a fuck about my ums and my ahs and my,
because that really doesn't matter.
No, nobody cares. I listened to it was one of the episodes, I think it was a live one that I did in the Divorce Support for Men group. And I said 700,000 times. And I said that in the Discord, and Scott was like, I didn't even notice. I'm like, I definitely did, but if you don't, no one else said anything.
And you know what? You probably have a lot of regular listeners that it's second nature to them to hear it. It's just not a thing. You tune it out.
I like public speaking. I like doing this stuff, but I'm not a polished professional by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not. And I'm okay with that, because that's wasn't and isn't a goal to be polished. It's just to be honest.
Yep.
So on that note, the point of this, I think, and this will probably evolve.
The point of this discourse.
Yes, is to review the episodes and talk about them. Mm-hmm. And then through the course of that, stuff will come up. Other things will come up.
We're going to rabbit hole like crazy.
For sure. And so this first one is, I guess, a review of episode 1. And you listened, took some notes. I listened myself recently and have some thoughts about it. And I think there are some things that have changed. I don't know. I don't think dramatically, but there's some things that have changed.
Oh, yeah. There's been evolutions.
Yeah. But some things have remained the same, which is, the core mission, I think, has always been the same.
Yeah. So I would encourage anybody watching this or listening to this to go back and listen to episode 1, maybe even before you hear us do this talk.
Yeah.
So you want to pause this now or whatever,
yep.
Check that out. But that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. But like he said, don't worry. This is going to keep going. This is a discourse, this conversation.
Yeah.
That's going to, with intent, to try to help content become more relatable.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to get sort of our, I don't want to say layman's, because that's not right, our in the trenches view of what professionals.
Yes.
All episodes are going to be interesting, but I think the ones where it's Dr. MC McDonald or the Alex, the neuroscientist, like to take what they say and sort of boil it down, or I don't know, not simplify, not boil it down, just make it for like us,
Yeah.
normal, regular dudes.
It sounds cliche to say layman's terms, but
Yeah.
it's kind of what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel
to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I feel comfortable calling it layman's terms because I'm not a fucking neuroscientist or a trauma researcher, or I mean, I admire these people so greatly, but
it's just that many of these issues we've lived.
Yeah, for sure, and they haven't. Although I know some have, and it's always good to get that perspective. But I also wonder sometimes if people that are clinically trained, even though they went through something similar, if they still experience it differently because of their training.
Yeah,
I don't
either
know.
experience it differently, or the subject matter is completely unrelatable because they never actually lived it. They've been trained very well in it, but not. There's difference in knowing and really knowing.
Yeah, well, that's what someone said to me the other day about my coaching. One of the guys in my program, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not a therapist." He's like, "No, dude, you're not. You're a coach. You've lived it. That's a big difference."
Yeah.
And I agree. I think there's places for both of it, but that's why I like to reach out to these people and get their really fucking big, beautiful brains input on these things.
Right.
So it can give me knowledge, and then I can figure out how does that apply, or how does that make sense to me.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that, I think I would have struggled more than I did without, therapy and obviously I dove into some things, but just even therapy alone, like you there's so much to be gained from it.
Yeah.
But I will say that it doesn't mean they're always going to be able to speak to you in a way that's relatable because they haven't been through it. So
yeah, I think most people, you and I for sure, we've had discussions about it. Even during the course of an interview with somebody, I'm automatically going back to my experience in that topic or that subject and how it worked out for me. And boy, if had I followed that, if I'd known that and followed that advice back then, and then I'm like, okay, then how can I apply it now? And I deep thinking.
And that's why I love the idea of going back through that stuff, because I'll have moments of shittiness or whatever, and I'll forget some of the shit that MC McDonald said, or that Alex Korb said, or that Katie the second. I mean, there's so many people that, and you get so much knowledge and information. Sometimes it could be fucking hard to remember. Like, oh yeah, do that thing.
Yeah.
Or
there's a trick there.
Well, like anxiety, I don't get it too much, but like the breathing exercise with that with Amber, the breath work specialist, I can't remember what her. I forget.
Yeah.
I don't remember what she said. I just know that it was helpful at the time, or I would apply it if I needed it. But it's been so long that I forget.
That's why it's recorded and you can go back to it.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting part of this whole process is going back and listening. It's because I've done it now on a couple of episodes where I just wanted to check in and it's, when you first do it, or when I first did it, it was very like going back and listening was always kind of weird. I can remember I would listen to a few minutes and I would turn it off and I'd go walk away. Yeah. Because I was like, this is fucking weird. I'm listening to me.
From the beginning, it's the sound of your own voice.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And and there's also some doubts. You're like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, does that make any sense? Is anyone gonna want to hear this shit? Am I making any kind of And so I've definitely grown past that because I had to. Yeah, it was like, well, you want to put this shit out, you gotta. But it's also evolved because in the beginning, once I got comfortable, then it was like, okay, let me find every and all and get rid of it. Now I don't give two shits, man. I don't care.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't care. So let's touch on some of the notes that you have.
I took a couple notes, about some observations because I've obviously some of you guys probably have no idea who I am, and that's okay. But maybe if you've listened to a lot of what Mike says, you'll find he mentions me.
He does
quite a bit.
Well, listen, you're my Yoda to my Luke Skywalker.
Yes,
or Ben Kenobi, whichever one.
I kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's true, me too.
But that, so.
I mean, you're saying
his
top in my
Padawan
head.
didn't work out too good.
No, it did not. Poor fella. But your sayings pop in my head frequently. It's when you don't know what to do, don't do anything.
Oh,
Hits
that's a
me.
that's a staple of thought.
Yes, that hits me often. I will tell people that because it's wise advice.
It really is. It's so
Yeah.
simple. It's a
It
simple little proverb thing of, I think we're all conditioned, not all, I'm going to generalize because that's what I do. I think most men have the normal response in a crisis situation to take action.
Yeah.
Most men I know, I'm not saying there's exceptions to that rule for sure,
Sure.
but most men I know have a crisis situation, I'm going to take action.
Yeah.
And when you're used to doing that, I've always been used to doing that. And then when I was faced with my separation, my divorce, immediately that rule of thumb kicked in my brain, and I wanted to take action on every issue to try to make it right, make it better, and quickly learned that taking action without really knowing what to do always, every time, got me in trouble.
Well, yeah, and this is something that has really been refined and honed within me over these 3.5 years. You're not in your right state of mind.
Yeah.
You can't make good decisions. It's not fucking possible.
No.
When you're that distraught
then think of how much we've learned now about the different parts of your brain that work through a lot of the guests that you've had over these last year or two.
Yep.
We know the different parts of our brain function certain ways in crisis situations, and parts of them shut down, and
it's just not possible.
So therefore, when you don't know what to do, even if you think you know what to do and you're in an emotionally compromised state, don't do anything. You'll make way less. Hey, it might bite you in the butt, but you'll make way less errors.
For sure.
Doing it that way. So.
But it's hard because we're conditioned to I gotta do something. No,
exactly.
No,
we gotta do something.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just gotta do nothing.
Yes, and we're so clouded by anger, which is one of the first things I noticed from listening back and thinking through some of the points you made in your first episode. And we can highlight some of the things for sure that have sort of shown through and carried through the whole journey.
Yeah.
One of the very first things you mentioned when you first came on air with this was the idea of countering the thought process that anger is the only way.
Yeah.
How many times you and I in phone calls and different conversations talk about this, the whole thing, and you guys have probably heard this, and we'll keep beating this dead horse because it really means something. Societal norms, and what we've been trained and taught that we as men are okay with is, okay, emotions, you can show anger and you can show happiness. And the other stuff you feel, we don't even want to teach you how to name it, let alone express it properly. And the whole time since then, you've touched on that same exact topic many, many, many times through many podcasts.
Well, and it's unfortunate, but it's because I see it so often, especially in that larger divorce support for men group.
Yeah.
I see the anger so very often and the bitterness.
Yeah.
And it's sad to me. But I understand it. It's just so frustrating. I don't know. I mean, listen, what you can only do what you can do. Like, I can only put it out there, but I put it out there so much because I see it so much. And I don't know what will change that. I don't know. It's not necessarily my mission, although, I mean, in some ways it's a part of it, but it's because that's what I see so very often. And I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see men being just so bitter and angry, and just, how can you have any joy in your life
if you're angry all the time?
All the time.
Hey, earlier tonight, you and I were talking, and I was talking about my personal journey with anger. You're going to hear me, as long as we keep doing this, guys, you're going to hear me make movie references. That's my thing. One of my things. The first Marvel Avengers movie, when Bruce Banner shows up in New York City, and they were talking about him changing into the Hulk, and he looked back and he said, well, that's my secret. I'm always angry. And I think, me personally, that's the way I'm built. I'm always angry. So on the inside, I've mentored guys and talked to guys in the past, and they talk about anger, and they're almost ashamed of it and want to talk, ask me about it. And I'm like, I've said it more than once. Me and anger, we go way back. We go way back.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a constant state of recognizing it, controlling it. It comes out as anger every time. I want to say it's a societal conditioning that has got me to that point, as an adult. Yeah. And from here on out, it's almost like always going to be a constant work in progress of, okay, I've got an emotion occurring here. Yeah. It's manifesting as anger. And I have all these switches in my mind, and I'm checking and flipping on, flipping off, trying to understand, okay, where is this anger coming from? What is it? And do my damnedest to identify it with it. And once I can identify what's causing this anger, yeah. Well, it's, it's actually sadness. It's actually grief. It's actually, I was rubbed the wrong way. Right. I was offended, right. But I let it carry too far. And instead of identifying what it is, that my actual feelings were hurt.
Yeah, well, and that's the big one for me.
My feelings were hurt. That's all it really is. Yep. But yet I want to immediately, blood pressure wants to skyrocket, anger.
It's a default.
Lashing out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a default.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad, and I get it. I am it. I was it. I think the most important part is something you just said. It's sort of like being mindful of where you're at, and then asking yourself some questions like, why am I? What's really going on? And it just takes, when I say it, when other people say, mindfulness is so important. I know people probably think about monks like Om in the fucking Himalayas or whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about being, your mind will do a lot of crazy fucking things.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't pay attention to it and sort of keep it in check, you're at a huge disadvantage. You're on autopilot, and unfortunately that autopilot is fucking anger. Usually, most of the time.
No, yeah, I get it.
But if you're not at least paying attention to your thoughts and asking yourself some questions, what I found most helpful for me was always asking myself, and I do it to this day, is that a helpful thought?
Right.
And a lot of times it's like, no. So if I find myself beating myself up, or if I'm angry or whatever, I'm always sort of analyzing, like, are these thoughts helpful?
Yeah.
And then it could be, well, no, but okay, so then what's behind it? What's really going on here?
Yeah.
You can't ignore shit.
Yep, exactly. And I can recall, even in my own personal journey, I can recall way back when my soon-to-be ex at that time would, an issue would arise. And obviously my first default was anger, and I wanted to lash out. Yeah. I can remember training myself and getting to the point where I was relatively proficient at it, of looking at the situation. I used to think, I'm using the left side of my brain here, logic, and think of it like a chess game. What good could come of me behaving in this manner? Yeah. Always weigh it against what good could come meter. Yeah. If I say this, if I do this, what is the good that can come? And most of the time, the good that I was concerned with was the welfare and good of my children. Yeah. And what was going to come out of my mouth, or what actions I was going to produce, I knew each one of them was going to affect their future, their present and their future. So the what good is it meter?
Yeah. Well, and I think to me, it comes down to maturity.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If you're able to ask these questions, to check your thoughts, to be mindful, I think that means you're a fucking adult.
Yeah.
I think when you act,
that's a good point,
with abandon towards your anger, just like fucking, she said this, and I've gotten to the point where, and I'm not perfect. I still have my struggles and all that kind of good shit. But when I see that, it's feels and I see it very clearly as childish.
Yeah,
it's like
I could not disagree.
A kid, stomping his fucking feet because he's not getting what he wants. And I just don't have any. I'm 45 years old, bro. I don't want to be a child.
No.
I mean, listen, again, feelings come up, and you're going to have these things. You're going to be mad. You're going to get angry. People are going to do shit to piss you off. But if you take the time to process and deal and handle and not put your shit on other people like a child, that's what children do.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a part of growing up that I think comes with learning about your emotions and how to handle them and process them and deal with them, and not just go into your default, man, I'm mad.
Yep. And because once you find yourself in that state, now you got to figure out how to vent it, because it's already progressed to that point, and now you got to work with that, and then once you have that work with, you got to figure out what the true feeling was that got you there.
Because then you can deal with it. You get to the heart of the matter. You go, okay, this is what's really going on.
Yep.
Then you can. It's like any problem. You find the source or the real reason. You can actually do something about it instead of just spinning your wheels.
That's when you can take action.
Yeah. Well, and I think
the real action is the action you do in yourself.
Yeah.
In your own heart and your own mind.
Oh yeah.
To be a better human being.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard. I hear guys all the time, struggling with things, and this whole process is hard, and it's hard to try and be logical or grown up or whatever when you're also dealing with all this pain and this loss and this hurt. It is a process. Make no mistake about it. The things that I can do now, I couldn't have done 2 years ago. No fucking way.
No. And each time you had a success, you'd recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'd call me and say, this happened and I handled it this way, and you were still pissed off. And I'd say, yeah, but Mike, that's a win. And you'd say, huh? And I'd say, and I, try to work you through what it was. And usually by the end of those conversations, you're like, you know what? Yeah, that, albeit small, that was a win.
Well, because it sometimes it's not sometimes. It's hard. It's hard to be a grown up. It's hard to be an adult, and it doesn't feel like a win because it goes against that easy, childish. Let me throw a fit and throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that. It's hard to control your emotions. It is. It really is. But it's so.
And by controlling, we're not talking about stuff in it.
No.
By controlling it, we're talking about pulling it out, feeling it, which is another thing on my little list of things I thought I'd like to talk about as far as episode 1 there was feeling the feels. Even then, at the very beginning, you still weren't even, you were only a portion of the way through your journey, but you knew that those were the high points that you needed to hit. And that was one of them, was the feeling the pain. It's so scary. It is. It's just terrifying.
It's unknown. It's like you don't know how to do it. You don't know what to do. You want to avoid it because you don't know how to.
Because anger was so easy.
Yes.
And what we were taught and shown to do. And and that's the default setting. So now it's identifying the feeling and then looking at it and going, holy shit, oh my God. It's overwhelming. It's too much. It's so intense because you've never faced it before. But what I've heard from you and watched from you, through a lot of this journey in these episodes is, and I've heard you talk to guys about it. I know it feels like it, but it's not going to kill you. Mm-hmm. You've said things like that many, many times because it does. I've been there. I can tell you as far as your emotional brain is concerned, this is it. This is the end. If I have to face this, I'm dead. I'm going to die. Yeah. And that takes some hellacious courage.
It does. And that's
to feel it.
That's why I think we don't see enough of it, because it takes a lot of courage. And I don't think, unfortunately, there's a lot of folks, and not just men. I think women too, on different topics and different people. Nobody's perfect. People are fucked up in a lot of different kinds of ways. Every fucking body should be in therapy. Men, women, children, everybody, because we're all fucked up because we're all being raised, and to varying degrees, because we're being raised by humans who fuck us up because they fuck up because they're human. But anyway, I think I don't think we see enough of. There's a core, and this was mentioned, and you brought it up before we started recording. There's a part of episode 1 where I speak about tribe. There's a core of fellas that have grown with me and grown with us and are truly part of the tribe. They're doing the work, even though it's really hard. But out of the many, many men that that have crossed my path, specifically in the divorce support group, there's very few that actually do the work, and face their pain. And it's sad
because so the world can way open up for them on the other side of it,
big time,
if they would have the courage to face it.
Can you imagine? I mean, just think about this, and this is always what sort of motivates me, is like being able to have something go really wrong in your life and being able to weather it in a much healthier and in some ways quicker, although that's a funny motivator, but it still is, but it's accurate, because when you actually deal with it, it doesn't linger and stay stuffed down and keep poking you and being a menace in your life. When you can face it and go, oh, she hurt my feelings.
She really hurt me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is bullshit, I can't believe, like, a new girlfriend or whatever, or a boss or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the heart of the matter, and then you go, okay, well, yeah, well, that really hurt me. And then you can say that to someone else that's close to you, and suddenly you're dealing with it, and it goes away.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay stuck down in you and poking you and prodding you. It's just a better way.
And by it goes away, what you're saying is it gives your heart and mind a chance to heal it.
Yes.
And
yes,
it doesn't go away. You're going to remember it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, depending on what it is, for sure. But it doesn't control you. It's just, it's a piece of you.
That's it.
Like, okay, well, that was hurtful.
Yep.
Okay. If I can speak that, if I can put that out there, then suddenly it's brought to the light. It's dealt with. It's handled. And does it still hurt? It could. Yeah, I mean, certainly certain things will hurt forever. This divorce shit will hurt forever.
Oh yeah.
To some varying degrees.
And let's think about. You can refresh my memory a little bit better here. How does MC McDonald talk about the fact that trauma never necessarily completely leaves you? It's this happened to me, and I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, it shapes you.
Yeah,
it shapes you, but it can be used to shape you in good or bad ways. You know what I mean? If you don't handle it, it does certain things to your life that won't make it okay.
Yeah.
That won't make you get past it. And you can handle it in other ways that I think that there's some, maybe this sounds fucking weird or whatever, but I think there's some beauty in embracing pain and facing it and having the courage and then coming out of it and being, God, the reward you get for facing your shit, for me,
it's peace.
Yes.
Peace is what you get.
Yes, because look what I did. I handled this in the right way. Mm-hmm. I didn't beat up the new boyfriend or key her car or behave again like a fucking child.
Yeah.
I was a man. It was my pain. I faced it. I took it on. I handled it. And now look at me. This is so rewarding. I mean, for me,
it is. It gives you that peace of mind, a peace of heart, and you're not walking around in a shell-shocked, traumatized state.
Yeah, and
about the whole thing all the time.
I also think to myself that if I can do that, if I can get past it, then she loses that control. The ex.
Yeah.
Because if I'm walking around pissed off and angry, she's still winning.
In a manner of speaking,
yeah,
there is control over you.
Yes, and I would rather not have anybody control me, no matter what. I would rather be in control and handling my shit and not having someone else. It's something as simple as being cut off in traffic, getting road rage. No, as you guys know, if you watch my live videos, I can get very angry at people. But I vent and I say, "What are you, a fucking idiot?" And then I go about my day. Like I would never chase anyone down. Like, and again, so if you
There was
allow,
a day and a time for me.
oh, I'm sure. But if you allow that person to fuck up your day, then they're winning. They're controlling you. You're not in control. You're giving your keys to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'd rather not do that. Again, I'm not perfect at any of this shit. And sometimes it's a lot easier to teach or to say. I still have my moments. And I think there's even an episode called this. It's progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to handle these emotions completely perfectly. You're still going to have anger and shit like that. But if the majority of the time you're able to deal and process and recognize a name, then you clear it out. You get control of your life and your emotions. Doesn't mean you don't have them. Doesn't mean you stuff them down and avoid them or ignore them. Just means you deal with them when they come up, so they don't become lingering.
Yeah.
So what are some other notes?
One of the things that I thought would be very beneficial to talk about, you just touched on the idea about tribe and building your tribe, and you said that early on in your first episode, but then you went ahead and talked about some things that were already in place, like a Facebook group.
Oh, yes.
Once upon a time, I believe it was called Rising Phoenix Podcast.
I think it was just called Rising Phoenix Podcast.
Okay. And things have a little metamorphosizing here.
Yeah, sure.
Divorced Men's Network.
Yep. That became so here's what happened. It's a bit convoluted, but I'll try to make it as clear as possible.
Clear as mud.
At some point, Mr. James Landis, by the way,
I hope you're watching, James.
I have to tell you, I won't tell you on air. There's news about him that I haven't told you. That's it's interesting. And by the way, James, I love you. I'm not knocking that.
Absolutely.
I just don't want to put your business out there, but he would love to hear it. But James and actually Brandon Terry too, who was episode 8, I think, I don't know which one was first. I think it might have been Brandon, but I could be wrong. Said, "Hey, you should do a Discord." I was like, "What the fuck is Discord?"
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're not gamers.
No, I didn't. I had no idea. And so that sort of became more of a focus because then we could do meetings in the Discord. We could have different,
like, live face-to-face stuff.
Yeah, and we could have different channels, and we could have different topics, and so it sort of became more of a focus. And at some point in the larger Divorce Support for Men group, there was a few breaches of females getting in and shit going wrong. So, well, let me back up a little bit. At some point last year, I think it was, I decided to create the website that I created, and that's where there's a lot of blog posts and episodes of podcasts get put on there. There's different resources. At some point, I changed the name of that Facebook group to Divorce Men's Network. And then, I don't know what point, maybe 6 months, a year, there was a lot of breaches in the larger group. And so I shut down that Divorce Men's Network group in terms of you can't find it if you do a search for it.
It's not public.
It's not public anymore. It's completely private, hidden, and you can't find it. And I did that because I sort of wanted to make it sort of like a speakeasy where it was like.
So if you're in there.
Yeah, you can say what. I mean, I never officially went through every single person in there, but the process that I was the only one, and I think still am. Well, you might be too, but it's not open to the public anymore. Yeah, it's adding people. You can't. I was the only one doing it for a while, and so I felt very comfortable saying this is a safe place. The other group, there are other guys.
Yes, let's talk about the other group.
We
got a lot to talk about.
That other group is, but anyway,
guys
from
that other group will have access to these talks.
Yeah, they will. We'll touch on that too in terms of, yes, they have access. Are they using it? We'll talk about that. But that place had and has other guys approving people.
Yeah.
So and I'm not knocking them at all. I love those guys. They're very helpful to me. But they're not me. And so I definitely do a very thorough check of anybody that applies. Now I don't always get it right. Sometimes spammers get by me, but I do a very thorough check. That's why sometimes there gets a backlog, because it takes me, I would say on average, 5 minutes per person.
Well, that's a lot of time.
It is, and it could get tedious. And I'm like, I'll do 10, and I'll be like, well, there's
30 in the queue after that.
Yeah, it's
trying to get in.
It's every day. I don't even know there's probably over 100 sitting there right now, honestly. And I haven't, since I got COVID, I don't think I've done any approvals. So Scott has done some for sure. Chris Hodge will do, I don't know if Chris wants me to say his last name. I don't think he gives a shit. Chris will do a bunch of, he'll go through and just do a bunch, but he doesn't do it often. He does it, maybe once, twice a month, but he'll do a bunch, 50, 60, 70, 80 at a time. Chris is a great guy, but I'm sure he's probably missed some here and there, as I probably have too. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it got a little.
Roughly how many members in that whole Facebook group?
It's almost 7,000 now.
That's a lot of dudes.
67 or 6,800. Yeah, it's almost 7, and there's probably enough in the queue to make it 7,000. When I started, so a lot of people think that I started that group. I did not start that group. I took it over. But when I took over, I think there were either 1,300 or 1,800 men in there. And
that's still quite a bit.
In 2 years, it's gone up to almost 7,000. And we went through, was it last summer? I think once that shit started happening with females getting let in, we deleted 1,000 people. We picked a time frame because of some information we found, and we just removed everyone from that time frame back or forward. So we went back like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I don't remember what it was, and we deleted everybody. So there's probably folks that didn't come back. And sometimes I get liberal with a ban hammer and go, bam, you're gone, because I don't have time. So, but let's talk about that group. You were not in that group for a long time because I
watched it from afar.
I never encouraged you to do it because it's sometimes a fucking cesspool.
It's a shit show.
It is.
It's a shit show. I believe. Oh, let's see. From my perspective,
in transparency or whatever's sake, who knows what Facebook shows you versus shows me. Now it probably shows me everything. You're not an admin, but so what it's showing you might be different than what. But you're not wrong. Go ahead and from what you see, because I know my perspective, but I'd love to. I don't think we've talked about it too much.
Okay, so setting this up, you already stated you didn't start this. Mm-hmm. You took it over in an admin capacity.
Yep.
So therefore, the ideals of how the page should be run they're just not lined up with the ideals on what you base your whole program for Rising Phoenix, the podcast, Forged by Fire, your coaching. It's not set up to the standard at which you're trying to help men.
And I got to be honest, I don't know if it ever could be.
Right.
Because I think there are too few men that are interested in such things, quite frankly.
It's a shame because
I think
of how helpful it could be.
I agreed.
Your way is the higher way and takes courage.
I think you could easily eliminate half of that group in terms of like people that want to do the work and get it and don't. I think you could probably even go further than that.
Yeah.
But I feel absolutely comfortable in saying there are at least 3,500 men in there that don't fucking belong.
The initial thought process with your whole program was to help men that are going through an unwanted, painful breakup and divorce. Unwanted, which was always taken to meaning out there that it was typically the wife that pulled the pin, made the move to end the relationship, and the husband didn't want that to happen. So much of your content is based on that mentality, that from that basis. So therefore, some of the things I see in this particular Facebook group that is appalling to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say it straight because that's where I sit, and it doesn't really matter. I've got the Gen X thing in my favor here. I don't really care what you think. In this matter, but guys that get on that Facebook page and are talking about their struggles, about them being the levers, get out. I personally got no time for that. That's not the kind of person that I'm trying to help. That's not the kind of person that is going to command any kind of respect from me. Honesty, hey, I get that, and I appreciate that 100%. But this whole process, any part of what I have to do with it, has nothing to do with defending the lever. We're not defending the lever. We're not talking about promoting families breaking up.
No. I honestly ignore those. Sometimes it's a constant struggle in that group to try and it still doesn't 100% feel like mine, if I'm being honest, because it's not. Because the dude who started it is still in there. He doesn't do anything, but he's still an admin. He started it, and so I don't feel 100% comfortable. Two, I do try to. I always hope that guys like that, or the really super angry guys, will somehow see the fucking light. And if there's that possibility is there, then I always sort of hope that
hang
happens.
on to the hope, eh?
I do. Does it ever? I don't. Probably not. I don't know. I will say that I can see a guy from a fucking mile away who is so bitter and angry, he's going to say some dumb shit and get kicked out. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
But I always try to give the space and hope that
space, that benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
That maybe he'll hear something, see something.
Yes.
That's posted in that positive light of how to heal, how to try, how to make it work, and not go to the societal norm of just getting angry.
But it's rare.
And hating women.
It's rare. But and I don't know if the guys that are, because usually what I do see when someone posts that kind of like I want to leave type shit, I usually do see a lot of responses that say essentially, as nice as they can, get your shit together, man.
I've seen that too.
I don't see a lot. I mean, it does happen. I think there is an element too of, if you're not happy, that bullshit that some people, oh, you got to be happy and, go be happy and, doesn't, if you're not happy, leave it or whatever. I think I probably see some of that as well. But honestly, those posts, I scroll on by. And
the concern and the worry in my heart is that the hurting, the freshly raw hurting man that was just left and bewildered and kicked to the curb and has no understanding about what just happened to him, and the confusion and the pain and he's looking for help, and he turns there and he sees somebody in that group bashing women. Watching other men post about dating immediately.
That's another one.
It's another topic that we probably should wait for different.
I mean, it's that could be a long one, but I will say this: I get so tired of that.
Yeah.
I have to delete. I don't know how many posts I delete not every day, but every week for sure. More than one a week. I would say on average, probably. I'm just gonna guess 4. Every single week that I have to delete and say, please go to check the featured posts. There is a group for talking about dating if you want to go do that.
Yeah.
I kicked that guy, and here I kicked the guy out. I don't usually talk about these things because I don't like drama, and I just sort of just do my thing and make my calls and make my determinations. But someone posted the other day about how they have been divorced for 9 months, separated for over 2 years, and in a relationship for almost 2 years. So I'm doing the math. I'm going, okay, so you did anywhere from 1 month to maybe 4 months on your own. That's it. And you're wondering, and he was like, I'm still dreaming about my ex, and I don't know what this means.
I saw that one.
And I said, well, it seems to me you jumped right into another relationship. Yeah. And my advice is break up with her, end it, and heal. And of course, some jackass commented on my comment and he was very angry at me for that's unsolicited. That's some of the most, what did he call it? I don't know. He said it was unsolicited advice that was uncalled for or some kind of shit. Well, I looked at that dude, Frank, and I looked at, Frank has had 2 comments removed already. Fuck you, Frank. You're gone. How about that? As I say to my kids all the time, from the famous Goodwill Hunting, you like apples, Frank?
How you like them out?
How about them apples, motherfucker? And so there's some times where I just get sick of it. I'm just like, I don't have time for bullshit.
No, because we've got a direction, we've got a mission, we've got a way of how we're trying to do this correctly.
And that's the struggle. Well, it's a weed, because I think again that tribe part is important. And sometimes I will find that what I find is that guys that are in the tribe won't ever come out and say anything until I say something in the group and make a larger post.
Then all of a sudden
they'll say, yes, I agree with this. I've been noticing this or noticing that.
Thank you for saying something.
Yeah, and there's been times where I have put my foot down. People posting pictures of their new girlfriends, for fuck's sake. I don't care. It doesn't mean you're healed.
Look, if here we're bitching about this.
Yes, we are.
So, and that's because of how frustrated we are.
Yeah.
But in actuality, if you're one of those guys and you're still listening by this point,
that's that. Go ahead.
If you're still listening by this point, first of all, thank you. Second of all, what we're trying, the point we're trying to really get across is, like earlier when I said, when I was going to respond to something my ex-wife was doing on the, what did I call it, the good-o-meter or whatever.
Yeah.
What good can come of this?
Yeah.
I challenge you, if you're involved in that Facebook group that we're talking about, when you post something, think about the guy who's a week out, 2 weeks out, raw, suicidal thoughts, bewilderment, such sadness and sorrow that he's never ever run across in his lifetime, and is in one of the worst states that we don't have words in the English language to describe. Cross-reference it, please, in your mind with that proverbial guy before you go posting something on there that could be taken in such a way. Look, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everything I post is the kind of thing that's even on my regular Facebook page,
right,
that where I'm thinking about that kind of thing. But
sure,
this group in particular, weigh it on that. What good could come of this scale?
Yeah.
When you're going to post something on there, and it's going to make a world of difference. There's other avenues.
Yeah.
For look at the girl I'm dating.
Yes.
Hey, how many times I've seen it where, how did you guys start dating? And like you said, you'll direct them. Hey, there's this other Facebook page we set up for this type of thing, right? For here, it's the hurting guys that are banding together, forming a tribe, helping each other, doing what we're doing. So
well, and that's the mission. I don't give a shit if you get laid. I don't care even a little bit. I mean, I hope you do,
but it has nothing to do with what we're trying to do.
No, and here's the thing. Here's the thing that brings it all, because I could be crying wolf, right? We could be crying wolf. Number one, the stats don't bear that out, right? It's fucking clear men are killing themselves. But let's just say it's just crying wolf, and that doesn't, you're just bitching about something. Well, I got a bracelet on right here. I don't know if I've ever shown this. I don't know if you've seen this. So this is John Taylor.
Yeah.
John took his life. John was in our group. John was a man going through divorce. His daughter sent me this bracelet. You probably can't see it, but we lost a guy. That 100% know that we lost a guy. I don't know if it's happened any other time. I wouldn't be shocked. Right. But I knew John. I talked on the phone to John. I messaged with John.
Yeah.
It has happened in this group, and so in that group. So if you're not doing things to help try and prevent that, then, as you said, stop for a second and ask yourself if this post is going to help or hurt someone that's going through this and is suicidal. And a lot of times the answer is no. I delete so much stuff, and I kind of get tired of it. And I get it. Well, just walk away. Maybe, and it's hard to say with these things because you just don't know for certain. But maybe we have saved lives. I think we have at least.
There's no doubt a difference has been made.
100% agree with that. And so if you're not with that mission, what are you doing? Like go find somewhere else to post your dumb TikTok videos or your dumb memes or your dumb jokes. But I tell you, I definitely have started deleting much, much more. If it is a jokey meme and it's negative towards women, it's gone. I don't have time for it anymore. I got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Me too.
So I have sort of stepped up and started doing that, but I don't see everything probably. I mean, I probably see a lot of stuff. I'm not sure that I see everything, but I see a lot for sure. But some stuff I'm sure will get missed. There's probably comments that I don't always see that get buried within other posts and stuff. I'm sure of that, but I have tried to clean it up. But as I've said to a few folks recently in private conversations, after running this place for this period of time, I'm kind of I guess I can say I have a negative view of men in a way. Not
it's
all
easy,
men.
It's easy to become jaded.
That's what it is.
To this.
That's what it is. Because
time after time after time, seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy who when he first joined, I want to say 6 months ago, he would do live videos and he was crying and he was crushed. And I want to say 6 months. I should look it up to be accurate, but I'm just going to guess. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I'm not going to mention his name, so it doesn't fucking matter anyway. After 5 months, so this is probably about a month ago.
Okay.
He posted a picture of his. Oh, sorry guys, I've been away. I've been busy with this or something like that. And it's a picture of him and this girl. Like, okay, delete. There's a rule. Girlfriend picture posting. The other day, we did it's an automated message. Quick, to be transparent, it's a Family Friday, and I put in there pets, kids, best friends, and this same fucking guy posts a picture in the comments of him and his best friend that he's probably been dating for, I don't know, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. I don't know. It's not a ton of time, but that's his best friend. It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't see how that, and again, this is bitching, I suppose. And then sometimes I get tired of that too. It's just like,
it's okay. It's getting a point across here.
I hope so, but sometimes I feel like a broken fucking record. It's like I want to be more positive and say all these things, but sometimes it's like smack. Like, here's a picture of my new girlfriend. Smack.
Yeah.
I hate all women. Smack. Oh, here's that fucking TikTok video with that chick that fucking says that all women suck. It's right. Like smack, and this is constant.
Here's some more red pill stuff.
Yeah, that's what she is.
Yeah,
Pearl, I think is her name, and
I've seen it.
She's kind of attractive, but she panders to dudes. That's all she's doing. Can't you fucking see through that?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's just, again, if you're not taking a look at yourself during this process,
right?
It's a waste. You're wasting an opportunity. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, there are good people in there. It's just as we humans do, we're negatively biased, and so sometimes the negativity jumps out at me because I don't delete the good posts. They don't get my focus. I'll comment. Not always. Sometimes I will comment. I definitely try to throw a like or a love.
Yeah.
If I do see a really great comment, I definitely will say so. But and sometimes I think I could probably step up and do more. And I do have some plans to do more positive stuff in the future.
Well, let's talk about plans a little bit.
Sure.
We went ahead and aired out our negativity and our dirty laundry thoughts on this Facebook group. But let's talk about let's talk about moving forward. Let's talk about the future. With what you're trying to do, which your tribe will follow and or help you lead in, the Discord server is strong as ever.
Yep.
And
still meetings every week.
Yep. Being used like it's intended to. And from its inception and growth and all those different channels on there. And there's a lot of ways to divide it up. There are outlets on there as far as how you can express yourself.
Yeah. Hey, here's the thing. I don't want to cut you off, but
no, that's fine.
Hey, you want to talk about dating? Go to the Discord. There's a dating channel.
Big time.
And then if people don't want to see that, if they're hurting, they don't want to see that
channel.
They don't. They can even make sure they don't see it at all. They can actually block it out. Yeah. And so that Discord is awesome. I probably should use it more than I do. I do try to check in and make comments. Definitely when I see people that are doing well or not. That's a general. Yeah, I commented.
Yeah, I'm in the general right now. Yeah. And here's a really good question on the last one, which highlights how this group can be used. One of the last posts here of January 26th. What's the process for inviting someone to this group who's currently struggled with divorce?
I didn't answer.
That's what it's used for.
There,
right then and there.
Yeah. Well, you should be able. I don't know, Winston. I know you. We've had some discussions. I apologize. I haven't seen that, and someone else should have jumped on it too. But I mean, it's my Discord. I should have answered. I did see that. I was hoping someone else. I think when you posted that, I think I was traveling. Yeah. And that happens where I just like, I'll get to that later. Yeah, I think I was.
Virginia.
I was either heading there or coming back. I don't remember, but I did see it. And the process is, if you go to my website, Rising Phoenix Divorce Coach, and you scroll down, you'll get a link to the divorcemensnetwork.com, which will give you a link to give them to join. So I should probably put that in comment on Winston's comment. There are things that are going to come up during this process that need to be talked about that aren't necessarily going to want to be read or discussed by everybody, and so that's the beauty of the Discord, and that's why I sort of moved away from the Facebook group, because this is just such a better tool, and
it is, and it's much more. It focuses your efforts.
Yes.
For what you're trying to do with this, what we are trying to do with this, what we know is better tried and true, proven methods, help and understanding, and
what
Facebook is.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's cesspool, but I think what I'm going to try to do is try to put out more positive content in terms of just not memes, but like if you go look at like Katie's really good. Katie from episode whatever it was, the one that got away, Miss Katie, Miss Colorado. She has a great Instagram and she has great content. And I want to be, if I'm being honest, and we still talk. I mean, she's got a dude, and it's not, there's no, but I'd really kind of like to be more like her in terms of her content and talk more about ways that I can help and things that I can teach. And by the way, these things that I teach, they're on the podcast. You just listen to the podcast. That'll never not be free. I can assure you, I have no interest. Yeah, no fucking way would I ever charge for this. This is going to YouTube fully, honestly, so I can start making. I want to do this for a living, and only this. I'm coaching guys now, and it's fucking awesome. I love doing this podcast.
Yeah,
I love interviewing people. I love having these conversations. I think this is awesome. I'd love to be able to do this for a living. It's really hard to do it as a podcast only because for a lot of reasons. One is there's so many different podcast providers. So some of you are listening on this on Spotify. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fucking pull this up.
I'm a Spotify user.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I think we'll probably wrap up with this because I don't know how long we've been doing this.
A while. I only got one more real thing I want to talk about.
I'll wrap up. I'll wrap up my stuff with this. But let's. Oh, cool! I can add an ad. Midwestern look at hot button taboo and dated topics with Kyle and Jess. It's the
interesting.
Buzzsprout is asking me if I want to run an ad on my podcast for this other podcast. I'll get to it later because I have to review that. I don't know what that is. So I want to go to stats, and I want to look at the different platforms because here's my point. There are so many different ways to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
So it's hard to sort of coalesce that effort to get advertisers because there's listens here, there's listens there, there's listen in some places. Like, how many followers do you have? Well, I have this many on Apple, I have this many on Spotify, which is fine. I can do that, but then there are other apps like okay, so the last 5 episodes, these are the top apps.
Losing my microphone, guys.
Apple Podcasts, unknown Apple apps, whatever the fuck that is, Spotify, Google, the Buzzsprout embedded player, which means they went to the website. And so if you go to the website, that's totally fine. And it still counts as a listen, but you're not a follower more than likely. And so I can't use that to say, hey, whatever company that's going to give me money to run an ad, I have this many followers, because there's also people on Podcast Addict. I don't even know what that is. I guess it's some type of app. Overcast, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Castbox, Player FM, Amazon Music. There's so many different ways to Audible. Oh shit, I didn't know it was on Audible. There's so many different ways. Yeah, I didn't know that. To listen. Podcast Republic is another app. There's so many different ways to listen to the podcast that where you're not counted as a follower. I can go to Apple, my iTunes, and Spotify, my account, and I can see how many people are following me, and I can use that info to get advertisers to do things on. If I had enough, and I felt I have enough that I think I could approach some folks, but if I have this thing, and it's not going to go away from these other places, but if I have it on YouTube, and if you guys go to YouTube and watch it there, you've got one place you can go to watch the video. That's YouTube. Spotify does do video podcasts, but I'm not going to use it. I haven't used it. I have no plans to use it. I don't have any interest in using it. If I have a certain number of subscribers on YouTube, then I can monetize and start making some money that way. I'm not going to ever make $100,000. I don't think, and I don't have any plans to $100,000 a year doing this podcast. I don't think so.
It's not.
No, I don't think so. Is it possible? Of course, anything is possible. But I could make maybe $30,000, and I could make maybe $60,000 from coaching, and maybe $10,000 from ads on the website. Or once this thing sort of grows, I want to be able to have all these different things that I can make it sustainable, so that I don't have to do a job to make ends meet. I can do what fucking just fuels me, and I love doing this shit.
Well, that kind of thing, I think it's important to point out, your time can be 100% dedicated.
Yeah.
To this. To this adventure.
There would be many more guests I could probably get. That pay people to do other different things, and I would be able to focus on it completely. I can't.
It's not necessarily about you making money or getting rich, because you're never going to get rich. It's not what it's about. It's about
if I made
growing the whole program.
Yeah, to be able to do it full time I could make a larger impact. 100%.
Oh yeah.
And it's not. No, I don't think if I made $100,000, I'd be fine. Right. Through all the different things, and I can't. It's not that I can't. It's just a lot harder to do it through the podcast solely audio, because there are so many different outlets.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just through YouTube, but again, I don't think I'll ever take away from the audio. I don't think I will, but I think I'll try to do as I'm going to do with this. Actually, you're listening. You probably aren't listening on audio, because I probably cut the audio off in this podcast and said, to listen to the remainder of the episode, please go to the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this or you're hearing this, you're probably watching it on YouTube, and it's just going to be easier to hopefully monetize it, if I'm being honest. And again, that's not to make money; it's to try and be able to do only this shit.
Yes.
Because not only will it help and all that stuff, but man, I love it. Like, why wouldn't you want to do something you love instead of something that just makes ends meet?
It's calling for you.
It is. So anyway, you had a thing.
I just wanted to, as we're wrapping this up, talk about, I'm going to pop this on you, because we never solidified this in another conversation once we tried to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I envision what we're doing here as something that could be interactive.
Sure.
So
Oh yeah.
I want to come up with, one of us here
Yep.
will set something up that's going to be sort of a direct line of communication. I'll be in maybe an email
Yeah.
address
Yep.
that is for this particular program
Yeah.
called the Discourse with Chris and Mike.
Yep.
And we have yet to create the email address, but we will.
We will. By the time this comes out, we'll have it. So
Okay.
do we want to just discourse@gmail.com if that's available?
If that's available,
I guess we
I'm
should
fine
check
with
first.
That's why I didn't want to say.
That's a good point. We will let you know somehow, some way. Maybe it'll be the next episode, or maybe it'll be in the notes or something. For
Right.
sure, we'll bring it up in the next one, but we'll find a way to get it out to you.
And the idea in my heart and mind is for you guys to maybe you hear something that we're talking about in what we just talked about that we can address quickly as a clear up shot at the beginning of the next one, something like that, or it could be a topic that you guys, we're looking at sort of doing this somewhat in sequential order as far as reviewing some of these episodes. There may be some we don't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But then it'd be okay that we jump out on a different topic and cover a different. Oh, that was episode 50, whatever.
Yeah,
and work on that.
I had actually thought about before we sat down. I was thinking to myself, we should listen to MT's episode and do hers because her book's coming out.
Yeah,
her book's coming out. She's going to be back on.
We can invite her to this.
Oh, that would be awesome. We haven't solidified a date, so that's still possible.
Chris and Mike in the clubhouse and MC from wherever she's at.
Oh yeah, and by the way, so we're recording this at Chris's clubhouse.
We're in the clubhouse here, guys.
This is Chris's house. Well, this isn't his house. This is the barn.
We are coming to you from a 128-year-old bank barn. This room, once upon a time, was a small recording studio / practice space. There are guitars hanging on the walls. It's
spent many a night here jamming and hanging out, playing drums, playing guitar.
It's a very comfortable room.
It's a nice little spot.
Yeah, heated, air conditioned, good Wi-Fi. I hang out here. Like I said, it's called the clubhouse, and it's pretty much for the most part where this program is going to be airing from.
Yeah, I don't have any plans to do it anywhere else.
We're in the clubhouse.
I think we have enough of the setup now. We've got to tweak some stuff maybe with that desktop computer. That way we don't have to use yours. Maybe we can just leave it out here.
Either way, yeah.
And so I'm comfortable here, and I don't have any plans to do it anywhere else. So yeah, we may jump around. We may listen to other episodes.
As far as topics.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to jump around in terms of just as we have the conversation. As I love to say, rabbit holes appear.
And that's what this is for.
Yeah,
we can really go into those rabbit holes.
Yeah, and explore stuff.
Personal experiences. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a wrap for this one. Thanks for tuning in to the first Discourse episodes, and we will see you again soon, probably in a week or two. Not sure how often we're going to do these. Going to try, I think, to shoot for weekly, but
that'd be nice.
Life may hit us in the face and responsibilities and whatnot. So
exactly.
We'll get it to you as soon as we can, but we don't have a 100% set time or set pace that these things will come out. So just keep your eyeballs peeled, and we'll definitely give you an email soon so you can communicate with us. And please give us your feedback, your questions, anything you want us to cover, even if you want us to have a particular guest on, anything of that nature. Just let us know. So thanks for tuning in. I know I appreciate it, and I know he does as well. Take care.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.